Hello, everyone. This is the June 10th, 2025 SIG Node meeting. Welcome. Today, we're going to finish up KEP planning. As a note for any KEP authors, the PRR hard freeze is in 2 days on June 12th. So if you have a KEP that you'd like to be considered for the release, then you have to have a PR open and have it be opted in and in the milestone so that it's on the PRR teams. Today, we're going to go through the newer KEPs, specifically the ones that are in this draft state. They might actually have open KEPs for them now. So if they do, I'll move them to the alpha state. But I think we can go through them and discuss whether we'll have bandwidth to work on them. This one does have a KEP PR open. I think it was opened briefly last release. It also might be more of a SIG storage thing. We might be sort of advising more than directly reviewing. So maybe we call this SIG Node consulting here. And move this to alpha. If anyone wants to take a look at that and chime in from SIG Node's perspective, I think that would be helpful. Next up, we have this verifying image registry origin and private Kubernetes clusters. I don't. Okay, so this is was preliminarily targeted. The author does want this to be worked on in 134. Do we have? I can review it to see, but I'm not sure. It doesn't. I don't think it's a terribly high priority. So I don't know if we'll have bandwidth to get to it this release.
Who's the author, and do you remember the motivation for this?
Yeah, I think it's yeah, I think it's to update the pod spec to say where exactly an image was pulled from. I think this is in a mirroring situation where the runtime is kind of lying to the kubelet about what it did and wants to know when that happens.
The biggest risk for me with this kind of caps is it will be either a patch on top of what we have, or it needs major thinking of how to structure everything. And major refactoring probably wouldn't be something that they're willing to take, and we may not be willing to take a patch. So it will be a strange situation again.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I think that there's also other caps to sort of think in conjunction with this, like there was another one that sort of had to do with mirroring as well, which might not actually be on this board because I think it was in a similar problem. But yeah, I agree that this is going to be a tricky one to get right. I'll do a look through. I didn't realize that he had asked to move it into 134 and see if the implementation as proposed is feasible. Yeah, but that's good context to sort of think through it with.
If you need help working through that one, I can give you some help too.
Great. Yep. Would love that. All right. Next up, we have node resource hot plug, which I do believe also does have a KEP. So we're in alpha here. There are active conversations going on in this. This is another situation where I'm not sure we'll have bandwidth for it, but it would, I think, be useful to consider.
Yeah, so just a quick update regarding that. So it has went through a lot of refinement during last cycle. And recently we got ACT from both SIG scheduling and autoscaling community as well.
Great, that's good context, thank you. Does anyone want to take a look at this from the SIG Node side? I probably will, but I probably have another person. Okay, I'll take a look to start off and see where it's at. considering it has been acked by other SIGs, I'm tempted to put it in proposed for consideration. I don't know how other folks feel about that.
I will hopefully be helping look into it. I'm new to the community, but I think there's some interesting questions still to answer. But I think it's an interesting discussion.
Great, thank you.
I remember the cap was targeting only increase of resources and hiding the complexity of decreasing of resources, and that may be a blocker for that unless we understand what to do with decrease of resources. I think work group node lifecycle may help with this as well. I know how much it will be looking at this.
Yeah, I think for the meantime, until they, working group node lifecycle gets a grasp on evictions and node shutdown, I don't think that they're going to really cover anything else. Though I think in a technical sense could be considered in that working group. I don't think that that's going to be a priority for them. Okay. Take a look at that. Next up, we have pass on resources CRI. I know we have had some conversations about this one. I know that this has sort of languished for a bit, but Mark has been very nicely asking for this for a while, and I know we have been discussing on it. I would love to see something done in this area. Sergey, I feel like we talked about this. There was some feedback. Do you know what the state, if that feedback has been sort of assumed into the state of the KEP?
I haven't seen any updates after the document. Oh, my sec. Yeah, I shared this
Are you
document.
here?
I haven't seen any updates on this.
Okay. So maybe we leave in triage for now and poke Marcus and see if he wants to update this.
Yeah, I will poke Marcus and Zvonka to update with.
Container restart rules to customize pod restart policy. This is a draft. Sergey, do you think that this will be turned into a KEP this release?
There is a PR for that already. I think there is discussion happening. I really hope that we will track it for 134.
Okay, cool. So let's
Okay, I will post this. I'll update the metadata later. Cool, thank you.
great. So I'll put this in proposed for consideration. Do you want this? I assume you want this to be tracked kind of as a, medium.
Yeah, medium would be great. Thank you.
So I lost it. Oh, I went here. Over here. Oh, because I put in proposed, right? There we go. Okay. Pod self-orchestration, similar state. I think this one. Okay, so we do have a first draft of it. So yeah, this also needs to be. Do you think that we'll be able to? I feel like this one was complex enough that it's not clear to me that it'll
Yeah,
make
it
forward
may not
progress
make it.
materially here.
I really hope to.
Okay, I might leave it in draft to reflect that. If it gets to a more complete state in the next couple of days, then feel free to move it into proposed.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Node readiness gates. I know. Oh, yeah, AJ, do you have PR open for this? Or are we still sort of discussing?
So I have a PR draft. There were some final comments. I we are discussing on the API structure and whether it needs to go in pre or not in the beginning. But I haven't published it yet. So I'm not sure. I think I need to follow up and get the status on this.
Yeah, maybe I'll follow up with you on this one and see
Yeah.
sort of the state of it and see if I can help sort of usher it into the right category.
Sure,
But
thanks.
yeah, great. Okay, we'll leave this in this state for now. Permanent driver allocation failures. This doesn't, okay, this does, that's an issue. It doesn't look like we have anything for this. I don't know if non-present, but maybe, does anyone from the DRA side know if this, I don't have handy that presentation. That was quite nice. That shows all the priorities for DRA, but maybe we just,
I can
use it
get
to
back to you,
draft.
but I think this is a 135 and they got kicked out of 134.
Okay, I might put this in not for release, and if that's wrong, just let me know. Go back in. So this one was commented on. It's kind of stale. I know. So there's renewed interest for this one because of OCI volume source. Because these models that we're pulling and mounting in are so large that it really does materially delay you know, pod start time, and it's kind of opaque as to what's happening. I saw that there was someone who opened a PR. I haven't personally looked at it. I do want to, so maybe I can do an initial sort of sweep of it and see if it feels feasible. But I would maybe consider this to be, oh, I did do an initial sweep already. Great. I'll do another one though. I would say that this is here, but I'm not totally sure if we'll end up working on it this release. It might be deferred, another one. But does anyone else want to take a look at this?
The idea is quite nice, but I think many clouds right now have this like streaming solutions for image pooling, and it means that there is no progress literally. Like it just almost immediately like file system being attached, and then everything else happening on background. So I think priority-wise, there will be less interest in that, but for non-streaming solutions, for sure, it is a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I think I can imagine a world where the streaming solution might be tricky if the model is stored in one file too, because, you know, it'll look like it's instantaneously pulled, but then the moment that the container actually starts, it'll start pulling, and there'll be this random delay all of a sudden. So that might not even work so well for that case.
You're playing with some runtime delays for sure, but yeah, there are some solutions with like disk attachment, which are faster. It's only have initial delay, but yeah, my point is that priority-wise, there may be not that much of a support for expediting this feature.
Yeah. I think that's grammatically correct. Okay. That's there. Node readiness gates. Oh wait, no, we already talked about this. Where DRA resource slice mixins.
Yeah, this is something you want to do for 134, but the cap has already merged.
Yeah, so we are good. We're tracked. Awesome. Do that. Okay, and then we got alpha. Okay. On the DRA side, this is a higher priority because this, or medium priority, because this is sort of alongside partitionable devices, right?
Yes, it sort of goes together with partitionable.
Yep. Great. Okay. Thank you. Next up, we have reserved for workloads. That is open, so I would say this.
We're hoping to get this in for 134. It might be a little bit of a long shot, but we're going to try.
Okay, I'll put in proposed for consideration. The way that you're describing it though doesn't make it seem like a terribly high priority. Like would be a nice to have sort of situation.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I also think the it has a very limited impact on Node anyway, mostly scheduling.
Yeah, totally. Maybe we'll check it as SIG Node consulting instead, but okay, great. Node capabilities. I know there has been some discussion on this. I know that there is a KEP open for this now. I'm not sure how we want to prioritize this. Seems good to have, but doesn't seem like urgent that we need it. So it kind of is to me feeling like a low in priority. But I don't know if someone else agrees with that.
My argument for the urgency of this is one of the big things that Node Capabilities is addressing is the version skew problems between control plane and nodes. And with the N-3 version skew, we're basically looking at like, if we get Node Capabilities to alpha in 134, beta in 135, then we're looking at, I think, 138 before we can actually introduce a new feature and rely on this. So there's so much lead time there that I would love to get this in sooner rather than later.
Okay, does medium feel better, or are you even suggesting high priority for that reason?
I'm okay with medium.
Do you want to be, I know you're not a KEP approver, but do you want to be an approver on this, Tim?
I'm happy to be an approver. I have been pretty involved in the design, so I don't know
Fair.
how you feel about that.
There's someone else. I mean, I'm happy. I'm fine if you are. I trust your being agnostic, but also happy to have anyone else be there. No one speaks for you. I also would like to take a look at this. I don't know if I'll put myself as a reviewer because I've just signed up for a bunch. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Tim, for that context. Pod level swap control. So we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but just this, as I understand it, is the next step in swap and is partially unblocking the swap going to GA, the original swap KEP, but this doesn't have to make forward progress necessarily to do that. I think we just want to get consensus on design, but I think it would also be nice to move forward on it either way. So yeah, how do we feel about trying to push for this in alpha? I do know that there is a KEP open now, so we do have this.
Yeah, alpha, but no priority because node graduate node swap to GA is a high priority to me.
I agree.
We've been holding that for too long. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree that I would very much like swap GA to go in. I lost it, but I'll find it later. Oh, there it is. What did I do? Oh. Okay. Great. Those are those. We also have oh, this is what I did. There's a handful at the bottom also that just real quick go through that I didn't have a chance to set the stage for yet.
Peter, I had 2 items in the thread. It did look like Akira was bringing up a KEP for this one. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, so that's a good point. So this one, keyword and username space is being proposed to go to beta. I don't think that it's a terribly high priority for the SIG. it didn't even necessarily seem like a very high priority for him, because it took him a while to sort of set it, but we can sort of have it be proposed and see if anyone wants to take a look at it.
Yeah, and then this one I linked to a request for Tim wanted somebody from SIG Node to review this one because it touches the pod API. I think in the channel I linked the comment where he was calling out for someone in SIG Node. I don't think this is more like SIG Node's consulting. This is the networking.
Yeah, to put it on this board, it has to have the SIG Node label. So do this, but then put it in consulting. Added moment. So good call out. Yep. And if anyone would love it, someone could take a look at that.
Peter, just a small question about the pod level API cap. Just to make sure I understood you correctly, so that the priority is low, but we would try to get it to alpha in 134.
Yeah, I think the idea is to attempt for alpha in 134, but I don't think swap GA, the original swap GA, is contingent on this making any actual forward progress. I think we just want consensus on design for pod level swap, and then we can make forward progress for stable. But then I think we could potentially make progress on pod level swap. Also.
Gotcha.
So we have it as low priority because like we don't need it, but it would be good to have, I think.
Yeah, sounds good. And regarding the PRR freeze, so as long as there's a cap, even if it's not merged yet, it should be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha.
The only requirement is have the cap open, have it be tracked on the enhancements board. So after this call, I'm going to go through and everything that we have proposed for consideration, I'll opt in, and that'll be on the enhancements board, which will put it on the PRR board. And
sorry, Peter, just to correct you a little bit, the PRR review does require that that questionnaire is filled out, at least with the state that like alpha or beta is like you request somebody for it, and yeah, not just the kept is open.
Thank you for that correction. Okay. Yeah, so handful more, and then we'll yield. So we did this. This will be going to alpha, I believe. Okay. And yes, use handful. So this looks like there is a cap open. Don't know. Okay, so this is kind of languished for a bit. I haven't heard of this making any progress in the 134 cycle, so maybe this might also not be for release. I'll reach out. I think triage is a good state for it, potentially even still in draft. We can reach out and see. Great. This is rotten, which makes sense. I don't know if we do need this or want this. I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like we have I think I have to catch up on the state of this. Does anyone know where this is at?
No, I don't.
Yeah, okay. Triage is correct. I don't even really know what stage it's going to. Is it alpha, I guess? And then pod priority based node graceful shutdown. Sergey, I think you're removing the rotten label. Do you think that we want this to be in 134? Stable, I presume.
I really hope that somebody will make it to stable at some point. I think this one depends on previous one on graceful shutdown in general, and graceful shutdown depends on there's all an issue with endpoints. So once we resolve the endpoints, we graduate that one and like maybe this one together.
Yeah, so I guess that this will probably make some forward progress if the working group node lifecycle do something.
Yeah, I really hope that.
Cool.
So workload, the node lifecycle workload tree, this is a high priority, right? I believe that's what we discussed. I mean,
I don't know if yes,
Grace will shut down.
Grace will shut down generally.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Yeah. So this is associated.
So I think that this will be pulled in based on that, but yeah, I think that that is most of what they're planning on doing right now is getting Graceful Shutdown - eviction API, like something to like have a declarative like node reboot happen. And all of those will be sort of pulled into that. Okay, I think we say that what's up with this. Okay, cool. So I think that is our board. So there's a number of things that are still sort of in triage. If you have a KEP that you're looking to work on and you want it to not be in triage, reach out to me. Itamar.
Yeah, just regarding the image volume with image digest cap, it's a very small one, pretty new, and it's already approved by IOTA. So I think we can try to graduate it to alpha.
Yeah, and I don't remember why. Why do we not look at this? This one. Nope, not this one. This
Number
one.
4, yeah.
Yeah, so it's in triage. Yes. I'm okay to set this. I would not maybe set this as a terribly high, but like I would be okay putting this proposed. I'll also take a look at this one. I do agree that this one should be a relatively small one. So if anyone wants to also take a look, please do.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so yes, if and feel free to reach out, anyone, if there's a KEP that you plan on working on that is still in the triage state. I'm going to go through manually and look at them again just to make sure that that's all correct. But if not, then right now we have 31 KEPs in proposed, which is plenty. So if we feel like this is a good list, then this is a great list. So, all right, that's enough from me. Next up, Itamar, did you want to talk more about this node swap path forward?
Yeah, so basically I've opened a very small PR just to state that we're targeting node swap GA for 134. Additionally, I've updated the document for the path forward, what we're going to defer, what we're going to include. So I think that the next step would be to send a KEP update with everything that this table captures. And basically, I hope that we can go forward for swap GA. So yeah, there are a bunch of things that maybe we can talk about here, like just to ensure there are no major pushbacks. Or we can continue discussing it on the KEP update itself. So I think that the most concerning, let's say, parts here are the in-place update of swap, which we just haven't really talked about it yet. So it might be a concern. Like Tim, if you have maybe thoughts about this, I'd be happy to hear them. Generally, I don't think it should be a major concern from my side because the approach that InPod update is taking now with reducing limits, for example, because this was one of the concerns, right? To reduce the swap limit in place, which could cause kills. So now I see that the approach is settled on making a best effort approach and reducing the limit based on that. So I guess we can do the same for swap. In any case, since like on a resize, basically Kubelet will do a CRI call to update cgroup knobs. It's just another knob that we need to upgrade. So I don't think that there's like a huge concern there. There's also observability. Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, I think I mostly agree with you on this, on reducing the limits. I guess one concern is because it's because we're sort of like tying swap and memory together. If we reduce, I guess we would check the swap usage and say if you're reducing the limit below that, then you can't reduce the memory request, which feels sort of strange to me. I actually brought this up with AJ recently, that it seems weird to me that we're basing swap limits off of memory requests instead of memory limits. I don't know the full history there, but I'm also worried about what the implications of that are for in-place resize. I haven't quite thought through all of that. It just seems like something that has the potential to cause problems.
Yeah, so we can talk about this general decision, but in general, like one alternative is what you said, like to perform just the best effort check. Another option is to just reduce the limits and let the kernel do its thing. Just meaning that, like, if the container can, you know, get reclaim enough memory for it to work out, then fine. And if not, there is a risk of an kill. Yeah, but in any case, like, yeah, I think we can discuss it, and I'm open to like any alternative on this one. Like I don't have any strong thoughts on this. Ajay?
Yeah, I agree that like the concern on reducing reducing the size of the container when it reduces the swap size. I was able to verify the case where when the swap limit is reduced, when the swap usage is more, there are no immediate implications. There are no kill happening or immediate like pulling back the pages back from disk. However, we cannot rely on like empirical studies. I think there would be checks on what is the existing memory usage before allowing resize, right? Do you think that we could do the same and having this best effort allow only when swap usage is within the limit? We could do that. There is the one gap we are also trying to address. The calculated limit on the container is not exposed today, so the user to have visibility of how much swap is being used, we're actually like looking to address that. So if that's available, then customer can know how much memory usage is and swap usage is like there on the container before they can like actually like do the resize. Would that reduce the concern on this time? I just like see if this would be a blocking concern or how we should like allow minimal interaction between IPPR and swap. I also want to mention another discussion, like as far as like having increasing limits, changing to limits. I think that maybe breaking backward compatibility, so may not be a good choice now. But we discussed this. This is current calculations are not perfect because we would not be overcommitting on swap, and we will never fully utilize swap on the node. However, I think that like we can plan for better improving this with pod level API, which we are discussing when we plan for that explicit swap calculations, like explicit swap planning. Probably like we should do this better. But right now, I think that like changing that would be a big change, I think. But I don't know what others think.
I just wanted to respond to your question about whether this is blocking. I personally am okay with treating swap resize as a separate feature that can kind of have its own feature gate, go through alpha, beta, GA, and just continuing with the current approach of saying if a pod is subject to, or if a pod has a swap limit set, then you can't resize memory on it, at least without a restart. So.
Can I try to rephrase it as like, I think in place just taking priority and like being shipped first, and then swap needs to make sure that it works with resize when it's being shipped.
I think that from a timeline perspective, I mean, if I remember correctly, in pod scaling is staying beta for 134, right? So I mean, we would wish to GA swap beforehand, but I'm all supportive of what Tim said. Like we can say that it's a limitation that we cannot resize containers that use swap, and we can just treat it as a follow-up cap and move it from.
Explicitly disabling resize on swapped containers?
Yep.
Okay, and Kubelt will decide that, not scheduler, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And sorry, that is done automatically? Or is it like if I try to resize on a swap enabled node, am I blocked from doing that?
Rejected.
Okay.
Yes, you will accept it and then it will be rejected by Kubelet.
Okay. So sorry, we're blocking all resizes if the node has swap?
Yep.
I think we could technically just block because it's only burstable pods right now that have swap. So I think the qubit will only have to block resizes for burstable pods on swap enabled nodes.
I think we can actually check like if the container itself has like a swap limit that is different than 0.
Yeah, we already do that. I think that current restriction we already handled for APPR is that only if it is a burstable or like swap using a container, and if it is not restartable, because when the container is restartable, the swap limit will be recalculated anyway. So only on that narrow case we are blocking. I think that Tim and I handled that for 1.33 already. So what Tim is suggesting that as long as we continue that, this should be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, so thank you. This was a great idea. Another 2 quick points that I'll mention. So from an observability point of view, things have progressed pretty dramatically. There is like a new PR to support kubectl top with -- show swap option. Basically, in this way, it's possible to understand what's the swap capacity and if it's available or not for each node and the usage of each pod. So that's pretty nice. It brings a lot more of observability, and it doesn't require any special permissions. So that's pretty cool. Another thing that we want to add is the actual swap limit as a Prometheus metric. Once we will have that, basically we will have all of the details we need inside Prometheus to define user custom alerts or anything like that. To alert like whenever a container is using, more than a certain amount of swap or something like that, which is pretty nice. And the last thing that might be concerning here is the eviction thing. So talking with Ajay about this, he performed a lot of testing to show that basically evictions should be fine without any additional changes. The PR that I made will just abandon it for now. And yeah, we'll of course share the testing results and everything that we found out. Yeah, and I'll make a cap update PR for everything that I've been discussing and more. So we can, I think, continue discussing it over there if there are no further comments. And just another, sorry, a small question is that the PRR was approved already in the beta 3 bump. So I wonder if there's like anything else to do there. Should we worry about the PRR deadline?
To clarify, the fields in the you filled out the questionnaire for stable PRR and targeted the cap at stable in that beta 3 bump. Like that was a you were retroactively catching up with what beta 3 was, but proposing it go to stable, so PRR was reviewed as if it was going to stable, correct?
Yeah, it was actually approved at this stage, yeah.
Right, yeah, so I think that we're okay for PRR. I think the one thing to check is just to make sure that there have been no new PRR questions added. And if so, then we need to update those. But I think my understanding is that that still applies, because we just like flipped last release, but we were targeted at stable and merged the cap, assuming that that was going to happen or attempted to.
Okay, awesome. So I'll just make sure there aren't new questions. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, questions, and also if there's any functionality changes, like the observability, like make sure to add those, or if they are, like, you know, any implementation changes that affect observability is what is of interest to the PRR.
Sure, will do.
There's not swap, right? I thought that we wanted to do disabling of swap per pod. Did we include it?
So yeah, this is included in a follow-up cap. Yeah, I can grab the link, but yeah, it's one of the cap that Peter was glancing over.
Yeah,
and the idea is with that cap, my understanding is of our plan is that we're going to get consensus on the direction and like basically define how the migration is going to go from like kubelet level swap to pod level swap, but not necessarily rely on that the pod level swap implementation to merge before we GA kubelet swap. Just like declaring this is the path forward. This is how we're going to do it. We may be able to merge the alpha implementation of pod level swap in 134, but I don't think that that should block GA swap of kubelet swap in 134.
We just want to make sure the current one approach, we do have the path move forward with the pod base. So, but we are not necessary this time. So relative that, like to make sure this is not the, once we graduate this to GA and there's no way for us to move forward with the pod level enhancement, right? So, but it's not necessary this time, we have to. So there's the relative.
I thought that disabling of swap per pod was a requirement for this one. That's what we discussed. Because we wanted to make sure that people can actually enable it, but then have a control over specific pods. Like, I want to disable swap for this specific pod.
My understanding was that we just wanted a path forward towards a pod level swap field.
Yes, that's our agreement previously. We and AJ, do you want to comment on this one? Because I think we have the same rule review on this one. So current one also it is just ensure the pod based won't be blocked and not necessary.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking. I think that like we will target pod level disable to be in alpha, but realizing that in GA would mean that like we would block this for 3 more releases. Like we see that already, like many different usages and like swap is being used in production scenarios in places, right? Delaying this would just like give a confusing signal. We would want to avoid that. And this is in a good shape for GA. I think that like having the clear direction in how pod level is going to evolve would reduce the concerns on evolution, and also landing it in alpha would mean that like folks could still enable like a feature gate to like want to use that if need be, right?
But
Yeah.
my understanding is that it completely changed the scope. Like I remember, Don and Peter, you've been on this meeting. We discussed that pod level disablement is a requirement, and Brunel was proposing some annotation, so maybe per namespace disablement. But we discussed that disablement of a specific pod will be a requirement. I mean, if you want to change it, like let's discuss how to change it and how people will enable it.
So I think that the confusion here is that we've talked about a pod level as a follow-up, and then namespace opt-out or something like that as part of this cap. I wasn't sure. Like I mean, yeah, I'm not sure what you feel about it. And by the way, if we will add something like this, like per namespace disablement or something like this, do you think we can still target GA for 134? I guess that simply, adding something like that wouldn't be that much of a hassle. I'm to be completely honest, I'm not like, from my side at least, I'm not sure that this is has a high priority to be supported immediately, as long as we have like pod level knobs. But yeah, I'm willing to discuss.
Yeah,
to be clear, last when we discussed namespace-based disablement, is not a great idea. It's not like the right place to be. That's why we inclined to have this like API level disable knob. The question here would be like what shape we want the pod level API to be. That the node level swap need to wait for. In my opinion, like having a clear direction is enough, and we'll definitely target alpha. But I think that like waiting for that and graduating them to GA together would delay this very, very late, given that the feature is already late and it's giving mixed signal to like Kubernetes users who are already working with the feature. But that's, I think like if there's a strong concern, we could discuss further on that.
Yeah, I think late is a very weak concern. Like, I mean, everything is late in open source. Peter, sorry, I jumped again.
Oh, you're fine. I think I just wanted to mention from a Kubernetes policy perspective, we would not be able to move to GA if we changed the implementation to include this, because the new SIG Arch GA requirements require basically that a cap be unchanged between beta and GA. Yeah, so that would expand the scope, I think, too much if we were to include that in release. But I do agree that like I don't think the namespace level doesn't feel like the best place. It does kind of feel best to happen on the pod spec level, and like the way that we've been sort of proposing that pod level swap, it is currently only enabling like the option to disable, but it opens the door in the future for a world where we maybe allow people to request variable amounts of swap. But I do agree that if we pull this into this cap, then that's a minimum extra 3 releases, because it's practically a new cap. I think considering that node swap is still disableable, like it's not like once we go GA with this, everyone is going to have swap on. I think it's still up to the cluster admin to enable swap on their nodes and also to enable it within the kubelet itself.
I completely agree. There is like a way to opt out of swap on the node level, of course. I think that like we agreed that opting out on a namespace level is like both a bad idea, and I think that what you said, Sergey, about being late is a bad argument. I agree. I don't think that's the argument. I think the argument is that a lot of people are using swap in production for a while now. So I think that like GAing it will do much more good than damage. And I think that providing a way to opt out in a pretty bad way, I think that it would just serve no real purpose to anyone. And as long as we have like a path forward that is going to be like a good way to opt out, I think that's what's important.
Yeah, I think my position here is that whatever, like, I agree, namespace approach is bad, but I just wanted to mention it as a reminder what we discussed, and like I think that what like pod disablement was on a table, and then it was one of the proposals that nobody liked, so we needed pod level API. I think my worry here is that many people, like some people using Swap who knows what they do and they already have it in production. But if we GA the features, and we will see way more adoption on that, and without a way for people to specify that pod is not swappable, there's basically no way to opt out of this behavior if some cluster admin enabled swap, and there is no security opt out, there is no like reliability opt out if you suddenly have an issue. So I feel that pod disablement is bad, and like argument that we will have way forward doesn't stand for me very well, because even if there is a way forward, there is without any people driving it forward, it may not happen, and it may not happen for many releases. So I thought that including it in this release, it doesn't actually require 3 releases. It may require, like, since it's a API change on existing cap, it may be expedited. So I thought that disablement of pod in this cap is actually a beneficial thing, and we need like long-term plan to understand what disablement will look like, but we can enable disablement faster and then everything else later if needed, if anybody will have an energy. That's why I think pod disablement is really required in this cap.
Okay, my turn. First thing I want to say that I raised that before. I want to repeat. Swap, node swap, it is even is GA, by default is off. Please, I want to make sure this is off feature. So admin will be wisely configure this based on their workload, what they needed. Certainly what you remember is not what I remember. We do say that, this is why I keep saying that we agree to try to push forward this to GA, but I still want to ensure this won't be the blocker for a long term, like the pod-based maximum swap. We can do those kind of things. Another thing, it is a disabled pod level swap at this moment basically could introduce incompatible API. Right? So what's the way you disable? You could be set maximum is 0, or and it just mean like that you basically set enable of the full feature about the enable of the per pod swap limit. So that's kind of things why we talk about, I believe, and agree we move forward with SES, and but to ensure about it is can move to the pod level detail of the swap management last time. So that's kind of things, yeah.
I don't think this argument is very valid. That's why we're doing like long-term pod swap API review right now.
So we're coming up on the time this meeting ends. Maybe we do some follow-up conversation to see, a way to reconcile this, because I don't think we're going to decide in the next few minutes. So given that, I think, yeah, thanks everyone for joining in for the good discussion and all of the work. And talk to you online, and good luck with Kep Freeze.